Hey, welcome into the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And we're presented by TOA, but I could really use an ear, nose, and throat guy right about now, I think. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and going to try to get through the next couple of hours here. So bear with me. We'll see how it goes.
New
Wade,
segment for next week, Mo, Warrior of the Week, and you will be our honorary inductee.
Man, I appreciate it. I've definitely fought through it this week, but it's not great audio for sure, but we're going to do what we can. Big show today. The draft is today. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as the show progresses. We've got, in the second hour, we've got Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, who will be coming to us from Nissan Stadium, where he's involved in some draft coverage of the Tennessee Titans. In the next segment, we will have, in Coach's Corner, ROSSVIEW baseball coach Parker Holman joining us. The Hawks are on a roll. No other way to put it. They've been hot from the start up to this moment, and we're going to catch up with him and try to see what it is that's in the water up there in Montgomery County, because they're not the only team playing well up that way, but they are certainly one of them. We'll also be talking some Braves, some Major League Baseball, and again, it's Throwback Thursday. So last week while I was out, should be out now, but anyway, last week while I was out, Chris and Wade spoke with Doug FEINBERG of the Associated Press, talked a little WNBA draft and its aftermath. We're going to revisit that segment, and we'll close out things today with the grab bag. And what would the grab bag be without some portal news? There's plenty of it. So we'll be catching up on some comings and some goings there here at the end of the show. So Wade,
looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a good show. The draft is, and I texted Tobias Wilburn, who's been on the program this week, talking about the draft, and it's kind of reached the point. It's such a big entity, obviously, that it must be covered, but it is by far way overblown and way over exaggerated, a glut of coverage, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so by the time it finally rolls around, you're excited, but at the same time, you're like, man, I'm just ready for this thing to be over, because I feel like it's all we've been hearing about for the last month. Exactly.
I mean, I feel like there's real NFL draft fatigue. And I mean, there's only so much you can talk about it before the draft, because it's all conjecture anyway. We don't know.
And that's the funny part. And that's what we were texting about this morning, is like, yeah, you can make your best guess. And even if you have inside information, if you got a direct line to Rand Carthon, his answer may change when the clock starts ticking, because you don't know what's going to happen before you, and you don't know, what everybody's truly thinking at that moment. Right. So, but it'll be exciting, and ratings will be obviously off the charts for it tonight. And the Titans scheduled to pick number 7, as you mentioned. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, it is that time where we give you all yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Thursday Rundown kicks it off with baseball action. Here are your scores from last night on the Diamond. Antioch picked up a 21-4 win versus Whites Creek. It was 4-1 Beach defeating Gallatin. Independence knocks off Centennial 7-1 last night. Innsworth 6, Pope John Paul II nothing. CPA a 6-3 winner versus Father Ryan. Summertown defeats Forest 7-3. Franklin defeating Summit 5-4 in that contest last night. Lawson is 13. Martin Luther King just 5, so a good win for James Lawson last night. Green Hill 12-1 winners over Mount Juliet. Brentwood knocked off Page 10-8. Murfreesboro Central Magnet defeating Providence Christian 6-3 was your final there. Ravenwood a 10-4 victor versus Nolansville. Riverdale with a classic 1-0 shutout over Oakland between those two rivals. Good contest there. Siegel putting up 7 runs, just 3 for Blackman as the Stars win it by 4. It was Smyrna 3, Laverne 2, Stewart's Creek defeating Lebanon 8-3. Final baseball scores: University School of Nashville a 13-3 win over Ezell Harding, and Wilson Central picked up a 4-2 victory versus Cookeville.
In softball on Wednesday, Battleground Academy with a 12-8 win over Lipscomb. It was Donaldson Christian 10, Clarksville Academy nothing. Dixon County edged Waverly 6-5. Eagleville with a 10-0 win over Fayetteville. First of 2. They also defeated Fayetteville 11-1. Cheatham County with a 10-4 win over East Hickman. It was Father Ryan 9, Pope Prep 7. Giles County 16, Murfreesboro Central 1. Smyrna with a 20-1 win over Laverne. Lawson down Hillsboro 17-7. It was 11-8, East Robertson 3. Lincoln County with a 7-0 shutout win over Spring Hill. Siegel defeated Oakland 9-1. Rossview 7, Clarksville Northwest nothing. Springfield defeated Portland 12-1. White House Heritage edged Station Camp 3-2. Summertown with a 6-1 win over Loretto. It was Watertown 14, Cannon County 4. And on the pitch, Station Camp with a 9-0 win over White House. Major League Baseball last night, in 10 innings, the Braves defeated Miami 4-3. And in less than that, the Cubs with a 4-3 win over Houston.
Schedule for tonight, Thursday night baseball action kicking off at 4 p.m. East Nashville at Hillsboro is our lone 4 p.m. start tonight. 4:30 contest now. Fort Campbell, Kentucky will travel to Kenwood. Knights Academy visiting Lipscomb Academy this evening. Hume Fogg visiting Maplewood. White House Heritage will play host to Springfield tonight. Hunters Lane will take a trip over to Whites Creek this evening to cap our 4:30 contest. 5 o'clock window, Santa Fe is at Collinwood. Franklin Christian is at Hampshire at 5 o'clock tonight. Lawson is visiting Knights Academy. Rivalry showdown tonight in Linville, as Giles County will travel to Richland in a 5 p.m. first pitch. That game can be heard on Pulaski Citizen Live. Check out Pulaski Citizen socials for how you can tune into that one. A big rivalry showdown there. 5:30 showdowns tonight between Westmoreland, who's at Allen County, Kentucky. Fairview is at Waverly tonight. 6 o'clock window, Siegel traveling to Blackman this evening. Zion Christian and Columbia Academy, speaking of rivals, that'll be a fun one at 6 p.m. tonight. Mount Pleasant is at Forest. Nashville Christian is at Friendship Christian. Antioch is at Gallatin tonight. East Robertson traveling to Lebanon. Clarksville Northeast will visit Mount Juliet. Oakland will play host to Riverdale tonight. Culleoka is at Perry County. Hendersonville is at Station Camp. 6:30 ball games. It'll be West Creek at Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Smyrna at John Overton tonight. Creekwood traveling to Kirkwood. Creekwood at Kirkwood. I think I got that right. Scotts Hill is traveling to Loretto at 6:30. Lawrence County visiting Spring Hill this evening. Cane Ridge is at Stewart's Creek. Springfield is at White House Heritage. 7 o'clock contest to cap our schedule for tonight. Clarksville Northwest will be at Greenbrier. Harpeth hits the road for a trip to McGavock. Dixon County is at Montgomery Central. Wilson Central will be at White House tonight, and a start time that we do not have listed, so check your local listings. It'll be Summertown welcoming Eagleville. That should be a good showdown in North Lawrence County tonight to cap our baseball schedule.
Absolutely. Should be worth it to figure out what time that one starts and get there for it. Softball action today at 4:30. You've got Mount Juliet Christian traveling to Clarksville Academy. Also, Ezell Harding is at Davidson Academy. Donaldson Christian goes to Good Pasture. St. Cecilia is at Martin Luther King. At 5, Brentwood hosting Ravenwood. Rossview is at Clarksville. Summit goes to Independence. Lawrence County hosts Giles County. Greenbrier is at Macon County. Richland goes to Mount Pleasant. Nashville Christian hosting Friendship Christian. Siegel is at Riverdale. Culleoka goes to Santa Fe. Station Camp is at White House. And Mount Juliet is at Gallatin. At 5:30, Franklin goes to Page. Centennial hosts Nolensville. McGavick is at Overton. Zion Christian travels to Summit. Zion Christian travels to Summertown. Murfreesboro Central is at Tullahoma. West Creek hosts Henry County. Those were all 5:30 starts. At 6, Green Hill is at Beach. Cookville goes to Laverne. Blackman is at Overton. At 6:30, Columbia Central hosts Shelbyville. Stewart's Creek is at Smyrna. 7 o'clock start for Warren County at Rockvale. The rest of these we do not have start times for, so again, check your local listings. Cheatham County is at Sycamore. York Institute hosting Watertown. Harpeth Hall is at Brentwood Academy. Kirkwood is at Clarksville Northeast. Lipscomb Academy goes to Christ Presbyterian. East Nashville hosts Glencliff. Westmoreland is at East Robertson. Father Ryan goes to Ensworth. White House Heritage is at Hendersonville. And finally, in softball, Hollow Rock Brewston is at Houston County.
Boys soccer action tonight, beginning at 4:30. Knowledge Academies taking the trip over to Maplewood tonight. 5 o'clock kickoffs now for the following contest. Davidson Academy at Good Pasture. Nashville Christian at Lawson. Springfield at Liberty Creek. Franklin Road Academy at Middle Tennessee Christian. Ezell Harding at Mount Juliet Christian. Clarksville Academy at Nashville Christian. 5:15 kickoff tonight as Murfreesboro Central Magnet hits the road for a trip to Providence Christian. Stewart's Creek will kick off our 6 o'clock window with the trip to Cookville. Rockvale and Giles County will get it on tonight. I'm unsure on the locale on that. I think that is part of a classic. We have though at Giles County, so you may want to double check if you're a Rockville supporter before you head out. But we do know that Rockvale and Giles County will play at 6 o'clock tonight. McGavick will be at Greenbrier tonight. Clarksville Academy traveling to Kirkwood. Smyrna at Lebanon. CPA visiting Lipscomb Academy. Shelbyville will be on the road at Spring Hill. Stone Memorial will welcome Watertown this evening. Friendship Christian at Upperman. Harpeth at Waverly to cap our 6 o'clock contest. A couple of 6:30 kickoffs tonight. Lead Academy is at Hunters Lane. Clarksville Northeast is at Kenwood. Oakland will be at Blackman to kick things off in the 7 o'clock window tonight. Antioch is traveling to Brentwood. Clarksville will be at John Overton. Smyrna Sycamore making the trip over to Montgomery Central. Should be a good contest between those two rivals. Dixon County hitting the road with a visit to Rossview tonight. More on Rossview here in this show. Riverdale will be at Siegel. East Robertson is at West Creek. That caps our boys soccer scoreboard for tonight. The Astros and Cubs are underway, and I am scared to look and see what the score is right now. But they got underway at 1:20. Maybe Houston's not down too many runs at this point in time. Who knows? The Sounds in minor league baseball tonight continue their series at Louisville. First pitch is set for 5:35 p.m. And that, ladies and gentlemen, caps today's rundown. Muted, Mo.
Top story brought to you by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check them out for your delicious daily deli lunch options, hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Houston leads Chicago 1-0 in the top of the fourth.
Well, you know what they say, let's go Stros.
Convenient wardrobe choice there. Good job. As we said, the NFL draft finally gets underway, specifically 7 o'clock tonight from Detroit. The Chicago Bears are on the clock right now with the number 1 pick. They'll be followed by the Commanders, the Patriots, the Cardinals, and the Chargers rounding out the top 5. The Giants currently scheduled to go at 6. And as you said, Wade, the Titans are scheduled to have the number 7 pick. And, you know, everybody that we've talked to has pretty well said that the Titans are probably the most intriguing team in the first round tonight, just because they're so bad, basically, is what they've said. They've got so many positions that need addressing, that there are so many different directions that they could go in, that they could execute the pick, they could trade it and maybe pick up another couple of picks, or if they do execute the pick, you know, there are a couple of different directions they could go in that seems obvious, but it may not necessarily be. So it'll bear watching. Again, the draft begins at 7:00. If the Titans pick at 7, it would probably take place around 8:15, somewhere along through there. So that's kind of what you're looking at with that.
Yeah, scheduled to go at around 8 to 8:15. But the Titans, to me, they're kind of like that crazy guy. They're like that guy at the bar, at the end of the bar, that's you can just tell he's up to something, but you don't know what. And you don't know, he's got that crazy look in his eye, and he could go a number of different directions. And
Keep an
that's
eye
to me,
on him, huh?
Yeah, keep an eye on the Titans, because like you said it best, they could pick their most important need. They could pick the best available. They could trade. I mean, there's literally a million different directions that they could go. And it's kind of interesting how it's perfectly positioned at that pivot point at number
Mhm.
7 in a year where we have kind of the first 3 picks kind of, we think, at least figured out. And then 4, 5, and 6 kind of tentatively figured out. But 7 is kind of like the doors, saloon doors in this proverbial bar, just kicking wide
Just
open.
swing open, huh?
Because if the Titans trade, who the heck knows what's going to happen at that point, right?
And it's interesting because, if a quarterback falls, the Jets aren't likely to take a quarterback, you don't think? You don't think the Vikings are going to take a quarterback? I mean, who's next in line for a quarterback if one of those guys falls? So I think that's kind of where it falls, because I don't see you trading up for anything other than a quarterback, right?
I don't think so. I mean, you could maybe make a case if the scouts are to be believed that MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., is worthy of trading up for, but it seems like all the chatter this year, and I do love whether it's and this happens in every draft, whether it's NHL or MLB even, but you especially see it in NBA and NFL, where a couple key positions just seem to be stockpiled, right? And this year it
Mhm.
seems like this is a quarterback year.
Right.
Obviously, everybody every year is looking for a quarterback in some capacity, but it seems like there's a lot of talent to be had. Some talent maybe justified at going where it's potentially going to go.
Mm.
Some maybe not, but it seems like that's the hot position this year. And that's why I think it's so unique that the Titans, who don't really need a quarterback, kind of hold the keys to how the rest of the draft could unfold. And I don't know about you, I'm a little surprised that we haven't already maybe heard about a deal, not from the Titans, but just from anybody potentially already go ahead and trading up, which means obviously we're not going to get a deal, or it's going to come like right in the middle of the draft and all hell's going to break loose.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll certainly be intriguing, and like you said, everybody's looking for a quarterback, and ultimately somebody's going to reach for one that is not worthy of its pick. So that'll be and that'll be another sidelight to the draft, and something worth keeping an eye on as well. Let's take a break from the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by ROSSVIEW baseball coach Parker Holman. Stay with us after the break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back to the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, that's Wade Neely, and it's tough when you have to concentrate to talk. So y'all hang with us. We appreciate you doing so. Joining us now here on Coach's Corner is ROSSVIEW baseball coach Parker Holman. Coach, good afternoon.
Afternoon, guys. First of all, I'd just like to start by thanking you guys for having me on today and just really brag on what you guys do for not only sports in general, but just for high school sports. You know, the coverage that you guys provide is phenomenal, and I'm just very thankful to be a part of the show today.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of the show today. Coach, looking over your record, you guys are 30-4 right now, but when you left Shelby County in the second weekend of March at 6-3. Did you see this coming?
You know, I try not to get too caught up into predictions of schedules or what could happen. You know, baseball is a cruel game. It can turn in your favor and turn against you on the drop of a hat. So we're just thankful that right now we're healthy and we do feel like we're playing pretty well, and we just hope that can continue.
Again, 30-4 right now, ranked number 2 in the state in the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association's poll in Class 4A. And, you know, obviously there's somebody nipping at your heels that you're pretty familiar with there. Clarksville at number 3. The two of y'all split a series last week, I believe. How do you feel like y'all two push each other?
Well, we've always pushed each other in a baseball standpoint in the town, but I think the most unique thing that's going on in Clarksville is, historically speaking, Clarksville I don't think has been seen as one of the better baseball towns in Tennessee. You have what's going on in East Tennessee. It's a pretty big staple, and then Memphis is always a hotbed for baseball, and then the Murfreesboro area is always well known. But I just like to see that the game of baseball is growing in our community as a whole. Clarksville has a great club and a good program. I would like to think that we do as well. Clarksville Academy made a run last year to state. They've been really solid the last few years, and I just think baseball in our community is growing, and it's good to see. And it's good to see us finally get some recognition that some of those other hotbeds have.
Absolutely.
You guys dropped a 7-2 decision to Clarksville on April 15th, turned around and got them at your place 6-5 the following night. And I guess you have to have the feeling that 230 win programs right there in the same town like that, y'all probably aren't done with each other, right?
Hopefully not. I would like to think that we'll run into each other again down the road. Our district tournament will start next Wednesday, so more than likely, if things fall in order, we'll probably see them again, and probably may not be the last time that we see them even in the district tournament. Good chance we play them twice there, and then hopefully, if we both make it out of the district tournament, likelihood that we'll see each other again in the region. So it's kind of like a 5-part story could be between us two long rivals.
Yeah, you guys continue to write chapters in that rivalry. Parker, thank you for joining us again. And I'm always fascinated to talk with our high school coaches, especially those with teams I haven't had a chance to see. And I guess I'm curious, what makes this team so special to you? Kind of give us maybe a breakdown with your lineup. And then obviously we know any solid team is as good as their pitching staff. So maybe just give a couple shout outs and kind of let us know who were some of the guys you're really relying on a night in, night out basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know it's going to sound cliche, but we really got production from just about every part of our lineup offensively. Honestly, if you're talking about the Clarksville High Series, our 6 through 9 in the lineup really carried us. CJ Lattimore had a tremendous series. Caden Slaughter had a tremendous series. Brody Prairie had a tremendous series, and they really kind of set the table for the top of the lineup to have some success and to drive in some runs. But the biggest thing that I would say about this team that I've thoroughly enjoyed is just how much they like to be around each other, and they're okay with sharing the success with others. And it's very little look at me and worrying about me. And, you look at their social media and they share each other's stuff. They'll share each other's highlights. And that's been refreshing for me to see as a coach, and, just a proud moment of me that these kids really do genuinely love each other, and they're not out there, hunting to steal success or, fame or whatever that might be from each other, but instead they're genuinely happy for each other. And, we talked about a term early in the year called Medita, which is a word that was created in a different portion of the world, but it means a general or a genuine love for something other than yourself. And I think this team has that, and it's been special to watch. So, but as far as pitching goes, that was kind of our big question mark. We lost our number one from last year coming back. He was a football player. He tore his ACL in week 10 against Clarksville. Funny enough. And he actually got his first 2 innings of the season this past Tuesday against Kirkwood. So, hopefully he can give us a shot in the arm in the pitching staff. But we've had a lot of guys that have done well. Drew Moorhead has thrown really well for us this year. He's 6-1. Brody Prairie didn't get to throw last year because he had an arm injury. He's been a staple for us in center field for going on 3 years now. He's sitting at 7-0, and honestly, we've had a freshman that's really come in and done a good job for us. Beckett Hasselhoon he's 6-0 with 3 saves. And we've kind of pieced things together on the mound. I think my favorite story is the guy that's leading us in saves and is probably going to set the program record in saves is a converted catcher. Like he didn't even get any innings for us last year. And he came to me when all this came back, said, "Coach, I want to try it on the mound." I said, "Well, let's see what it looks like." And, here we are later with a sub-2 ERA, and he's got 5 saves on the year. So I guess I should have listened to him a little bit earlier.
Well, it was good that you were at least willing to listen then, right? You
Absolutely.
sometimes hear the coaches, get back to the bullpen and catch a little bit, whereas you at least gave him a shot, it sounds like.
Yeah. Cole Job, he's a great kid, and he's been really good for us out of the bullpen, and I think he'll continue to be so.
You mentioned also your lineup. Some of those games you're getting production at the bottom of the lineup. I'm always curious with baseball coaches. Is that frustrating in the sense that maybe your big guys at the top of the lineup aren't carrying it, or are you more excited that the guys at the bottom are kind of really showing that they can carry it? And then are you tinkering with the lineup as that goes? If you see a guy that's batting 6th or 7th that's really on a tear, do you shuffle him, or do you kind of keep things largely consistent?
We're pretty consistent. We'll make a move when we feel like there needs to be a move that needs to be made. But I just think the continuity as far as where they're at all the time kind of helps them settle into, I guess you could call it a role. And offensively, we kind of look at it as a pack. We do a lot of comparisons, our offense as a baseball team to a football team, and it seems to relate better with our guys. And we talk about, hey, all the stats are good, but at the end of the day, the production that matters is how much you help us touch home plate as an offense. And, as a football team, it's putting it in the end zone. But in baseball, you're only as good as how much you help the team you play for touch home. And truthfully speaking, our lineup it's probably the deepest lineup that I may have had in my time here. I don't know about, as far as we've had some pretty impactful ones, especially 1 through 4 in the past. But 1 through 9, we've got guys hitting in the bottom of the lineup that really would hit in the higher portions of other lineups, and they've done a great job for us. And the top of our lineup's done good. Our leadoff, he was injured last year. Great story. He's hitting 470 for us. He's almost at 50 hits on the season. I think he's got 48 as of Tuesday. He's a great runner. He's a good table setter. And those guys are there because we have some guys that can run, and that's really why they're at the top. Because if they do get on, the chaos that they create that follows behind them kind of opens up the door for everybody else that hits after them. And our guys do a good job feeding off each other and understanding that.
Love that.
Coach, as a baseball fan, I love that chaos on offense. So sounds like you guys are a lot of fun to watch. Parker Holman, baseball coach at ROSSVIEW, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And Coach, you talk about touching home plate. You've done it a lot since the beginning of April with the Donnie Everett Classic. You guys have scored in double digits in all but 2 games. Those were the 2 games in the Clarksville series where you totaled 8 runs in those 2 games. But besides that, 10 or more in 8 in like 11 straight games. So whatever you're doing offensively, it seems to be working.
Recently, I've just been doing a lot of clapping my hands at third base and giving high fives and, loving on guys and doing that. But, my hat's off. It's nothing special that we're doing as a coaching staff. Our kids have just done a good job of having accountability and being very selfless and relentless in their approach offensively and on the mound and just understanding their role and trying their best day in and day out to execute that role.
Coach, when you've had this kind of success to this point, you're done with district play. According to the schedule I'm looking at, you guys got 2 more games, both on the road, before that district tournament starts next week. Where is your emphasis here over the next week as you get ready for postseason play? How do you maintain this momentum and stay on that high as you get to, obviously, the most important games of the season?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Baseball is one of those sports. It's a little different in football and basketball just because of the frequency in which you play, the amount of games. You could go out and have a bad day, and we've talked about dealing with adversity. And just because it's not raining now doesn't mean that the storm's not coming. So baseball is a game that's full of the unexpected thing happening, and we have to be prepared to deal with that, whether it's positive or negative. And I think the message once May starts is it's something that we've had success with here before is, hey, we just get to play baseball today. Good, bad, ugly. The goal in May is that tomorrow we find a way that we continue to get to play baseball with each other. And that's what these guys have done a good job of, and I hope it continues for us.
Parker Holman, baseball coach at ROSSVIEW High School in Clarksville. The Hawks are 30-4 as they approach the district tournament. Coach, we wish you well. Hope to see you in Murfreesboro here in a few weeks, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having us. And again, love the show, and I love everything that you're doing for high school sports in the Middle Tennessee area.
Thank you. Before we exit this segment, Wade, we need to hand out a little hardware. Our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week is the Summit softball team. The Spartan women last week picked up 3 victories, all in district play. They won 4-3 at Page. They defeated Franklin 10-0, and they defeated Centennial 9-1. So Summit softball is our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Our athlete of the week, we went a little bit off of the beaten path for this one, but Amaya Childress of Columbia Central Girls Rugby is our athlete of the week. And you know, if you're like me, you're not real familiar necessarily with rugby, but I'm going to throw some numbers at you that are regardless pretty eye-popping here once I get them in front of me here. There we go. Scored 27 points last week in Columbia Central's 86-3 win over Spring Hill. She scored a try, which is 5 points, and she hit 11 conversions, which are 2 points each, in that big victory for Columbia Central as the Lady Lions try to defend their 2023 state championship. So sophomore Maya Childress, in her first year of rugby, is our Main Street Murray TOA Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to her. Again, congratulations to Summit Softball also as our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Let's take a break here from the Lee Company Studios. When we come back, we'll talk a little Braves. Stay with us.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see. whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
April 25th, 1937. Making his first major league start, Cliff Melton became the first rookie to reach double-digit strikeouts in a debut, finishing with 13 in a complete game effort. But the Boston Bees took advantage of a pair of ninth-inning errors to rally for a 3-1 victory over Melton and the New York Giants at the famed Polo Grounds. That was this day in Braves history. 13 strikeouts, you go the distance, and you get beat. That's a tough one. Ronaldo Lopez can kind of relate. Last night against Miami, he goes 7 full, gives up 1 earned run on 3 hits, strikes out 7. And in a rarity, Raziel Iglesias can't close the door, gives up a couple, blows the save, blows the win for Lopez, but the Braves bounce back in the bottom of the 10th and win it 4-3 to complete the sweep of the Marlins. So again, late offense, once again, bailing out the Braves, as has been the case so often already this season. Wade, you might be muted.
Yeah, that's the thing. Thank you. And that's kind of what we've talked about this team, right? Is number one, you probably, unless you're in a fellow elite team, you got to catch them on a bad night to really have a chance. And then even when you catch them on a bad night, you really got to finish the job. I mean, you almost have to kind of deliver postseason type vibes in the sense of, where the outs are magnified. You've really got to find a way to knock them out before they're ever really out of a ball game. And so we kind of saw that play out last night. They just find different ways to win games, which is, and I'm not Nostradamus by any stretch when I say that, but that just speaks to how good of a team that they are right now. And it's what makes them a dangerous squad, not only in the regular season, obviously, but the team that's got World Series aspirations.
Yeah, you don't want to get too out over your skis on April 25th. But I mean, realistically, this team is a team that, you have to get 27 outs every night. And with that offense, that's not always easy. So like you said, I mean, what you said is very much on point. But, what sometimes gets overlooked with this team, because they do score so much and so well late, is their defense. And, Austin Riley last night, if you were watching the game, and if you weren't, you should probably go back and check out the play he made in the top of the 10th with the bases loaded to keep Miami off the scoreboard, keep the game tied at 3, and allow for Michael Harris II's double to drive in Ronald Acuna with the win. I mean, I really feel like Austin Riley is a guy who's going to have more Gold Glove consideration this year that he has before. And I mean, I don't know if he can win it or not because Nolan Arenado is still playing, but I think he's going to have a shot. And their defense all around the infield is a big key to their success behind the pitching that they're getting. And again, Lopez, another fantastic performance there. He's kind of been the anchor for this pitching staff to this point, with Strider being out and with, Sale and Morton kind of being a little up and down. So great offseason signing there.
Absolutely. And, I was just fluffing Atlanta up, but another key point, obviously, is we're playing the Marlins. And it resonated with me because we went back to, or my mind went back to that play we talked about a couple days ago where they had a single, and a double in the top of the first and somehow didn't score. And last night, if you're a stray Marlins fan, you're thinking, man, not again. We got thrown out at home. I mean, so it's you kind of got to go with the ebbs and the flows. Obviously, as I can testify as an Astros fan, it's better to win these games ugly than lose them pretty, certainly. And the other thing, kind of to your point, is, yeah, it's great when you have a fantastic regular season. And obviously, number one, if you don't get in the playoffs, of course, you can't, you don't even have a ticket to the dance. But the better you can set yourself up, obviously, it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because you don't want to get too excited because baseball is the one sport that it just comes down to just a crazy few key plays, even though it's played over a series. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of like the NFL where one or two key plays kind of dictate how a team advances or is eliminated. And so it's always fascinating to me because baseball is such a long regular season. And then at the end, everything is just crazy magnified. But it's better to be winning now than losing now, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. You do have to kind of take it with a grain of salt because it is Miami. But at the same time, all you can do is play the schedule that's in front of you as well.
Yep.
So, we're going to take those wins over Miami, and hopefully those will lead to wins over Philadelphia when the time comes. Again, we talked yesterday. The Braves are off today before a 3-game series this weekend against the Guardians, who, again, if the Braves are not the hottest team in baseball, then the Guardians are. They each have 17 wins. The Guardians are 17-7. I'm not sure if they're playing today or not. Let's see. Yeah, they are beating Boston 6-4 in the middle of the 8th. So they're going to come in here possibly 18-7. So this is going to be a fun series to watch this weekend. Chris Sale getting the ball on Friday. And again, just a fun 3-game series this time of year in particular. Let's see. 6:20 tomorrow. That's 6:20 Saturday and a day game on Sunday at 12:35. So those will be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big series. This will be one that I'm not even sure if they still do this, but and especially this time of the year. But the old Saturday, big game or on Fox. This has that series written all over it. With the way these two teams are playing, we talked yesterday, obviously, about the PTSD that a lot of Guardians or Cleveland fans, shall we say, over the years have. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know that I'll be watching much of that series, but it's going to be one that I'm at least going to want to keep an eye or two on. Like it's not as if it's not one. We're not talking about the White Sox versus the Lastros at this moment. So it'll be bear watching. And if Atlanta, obviously, if you come out of this somehow with 2 or 3 or even a sweep, I mean, you're really going to be feeling good coming out of that.
Absolutely. Wade, your Astros dropped a 4-3 loss last night, but they're up 1-0 through 5 at Wrigley. So
I'm holding my breath.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, I mean, they're running out of time, obviously. It was a cute little ha-ha a couple weeks ago, and we're kind of slowly starting to see Everybody else in that division, at least the top three teams, the A's, you venture, they're kind of maybe punching above their weight right now. But you think they might regress to the mean a little bit. But the Angels seem like they're improved. And then we've had fun the last couple of days talking about Texas and Seattle. So it's kind of gone from that to just they got to figure out something. And the thing that I'm kind of not excited about is, you've got some guys injured, and you're just hoping then when it comes back, everything just kind of snaps into place. And that kind of did work out to an extent last year for Houston. But I mean, if your strategy is, hey, as long as we can just tread water until they get back, or mitigate the damage until they get back, that's not a viable option. This is a team that is still talented enough. They should be looking to win games even with injuries, and not just kind of treading water. So that's the only cause for concern on my end there.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's really tough that all of this is happening in year one after Dusty. I mean, because I don't know how much of this is on Joe Espada necessarily, but when you look at things, certainly that's a discussion point, I guess.
Yep, and Crawfish Boxes is a great fan blog, and I'm just scanning through their site, and pitching obviously is the crux of this issue, but really it's been the starts of games. They've had several just horrific starts to games. I mean, how many times on this show we talked about they gave up 6 in the first last night, they gave up 5 in the first last night. I mean, it's been tough, and as talented of a lineup as you got, if you're going to the top of the second down 5-0 or 6-0, I mean, it's really, really difficult to overcome at that point.
It's pretty brutal at that point, yeah. Speaking of Dusty Baker, announced earlier today, he was presented or has won Baseball Digest 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award, honored for significant contributions to the national game. This is the 4th annual Lifetime Achievement Award that Baseball Digest is presenting. Retired after the 2023 season after 56 years in Major League Baseball as a player, coach, and manager. Previous winners were Willie Mays, Vin Scully, and Joe Torre. It's the only such honor presented annually on a national basis. Recognizes a living individual whose career has been spent in and around Major League Baseball and who has made significant contributions to the game. And, based on that criteria, I don't know that you could come up with a better recipient than Dusty. It's fantastic to see. And Rob Manfred actually managed to make a statement, not butcher it. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I'm honored to congratulate Dusty Baker as the 2024 recipient of Baseball Digest Lifetime Achievement Award. Joins an incredible club comprised of Willie Mays, Vince Scully, and Joe Torre. Dusty represents leadership, goodwill, and winning baseball. His ability to connect with others across generations is second to none. He is a championship manager and player, but most importantly, Dusty is an extraordinary ambassador for our national pastime. And again, I don't know if somebody wrote that for Manfred or if he actually came up with it, but those are, fantastic words to describe, the impact of Dusty Baker on Major League Baseball, who was in the on-deck circle for 7-15.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better. And like you, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and just not even really worry about who wrote that or
who said it.
Yeah. If it was actually Rob himself or if it was artificial intelligence Rob that was up there and started speaking, I don't know. But fantastic stuff as he's sorely missed. And there ain't no doubt about that.
The Sounds have a 5:35 game today up at Louisville as they try to bounce back from a couple of losses earlier in the week. 14-9 on Tuesday to the Bats, 2-1 in a day game yesterday. It'll be Andy Ashby going to the mound for the Sounds, 0-1 with a 9.28 ERA. Carson Spires takes the bump for the Bats, does not have a decision. 3.50 ERA has Mr. Spires. So maybe the Sounds can get headed in the right direction. ahead of our visit tomorrow at 2:20 with play-by-play announcer Jeff Hem. So be sure and tune in for that. I'm sure he'll have a lot of good stuff to say about the Sounds. Wade, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Max Scherzer is working his way back for Texas, much like Justin Verlander has for the Astros here in the last week or so. And he has he's thrown a couple of rehab games in the minors, and he has thrown something out there that is probably going to catch fire if it hasn't already. Umpire relegation.
You know, I'm a soccer guy, so relegation is not a super off the wall concept to me. And I guess immediately when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, how does MLB? I mean, other than obviously you're not going to get postseason assignments. What is any sort of, or obviously your contract is not renewed for the next season. But what are any repercussions, or are there repercussions for that bottom tier of umpires? I don't know.
I think that's a question that we don't necessarily know an answer to. In this article on CBSSports.com, following his rehab start, Scherzer also chimed in on the state of umpiring and suggested a relegation system for umpires. While saying he believes most umpires are good at their jobs, he proposed a system in which the worst ball strike umpires are demoted to the minors. We need to rank the umpires. Let the electronic strike zone rank the umpires. We need to have a conversation about the bottom, let's call it 10%, whatever you want to declare the bottom is, and talk about relegating those umpires to the minor leagues. Now, the writer of this article does make a point, is the 10% worse major league umpires worse than the 10% best AAA umpires?
Yeah,
so there may be a little bit of a be careful what you wish for type of aspect to this, but at the same time, like you said, Wade, there's not a whole lot of accountability for the Angel Hernandezes and the folks that are so obviously bad at this, consistently bad.
Yeah, and that's my big takeaway on this, and I totally see the point of, you could be the best AAA umpire around, but there's just a little something, same as the players, right? And the managers. I mean, there's just something that some guys just have an extra gear, and they either can or can't turn it on at the big league level. So, kind of a little be careful what you wish for. Relegation would be certainly a wild way to think about it. I mean, I'm visualizing this now. I mean, an umpire's like, man, I called 3 really good games in a row. Am I going to get called up? Or, man, I had 3 stinkers. And I mean, I see the appeal, because hopefully you're going to get everybody's best efforts.
Ideally.
Yeah, you would hope so. And
maybe that creates a extra level of focus.
Yeah, you're right. Just a little extra transparency too. It is really, really cool that they do have these, electronic scorecards that come out. I mean, it is mind-blowing stuff to just think about, not even 20 years ago, we were, having these discussions at bars and other places talking about how bad certain umps are, and it was just anecdotal, right? Now it's like, boom, the second the game's over, you get a full-blown report on how these guys have called that game, which is just mind-blowing to me, honestly.
It's probably mind-blowing for them as well.
Well, yes, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, come back to the Lease Company Studios for the second hour.
Real quick, Mo.
Oh, go ahead.
I got to throw them in while I can, because we were talking about the Astros and how bad they've been. In a quick episode of Petty Wars, I saw this tweet last night, and you'll know where I'm going with this in a second. But Petty Wars, it caught my attention. Somebody posted a video of St. Louis and Busch Stadium, and it does not look very full by any stretch. It does not look very happy by any stretch. And this person says, I'm just sad for the fans and for the city. Never seen the park so lifeless. And then the tweet that resonated with me is somebody said, well, this is actually funny, because St. Louis has had this reputation, as a big baseball city. But
Hashtag BFIB, best fans in baseball.
But maybe, as this tweet points out, maybe they just hadn't had a team below 500 in the last 20 years, and now they're just in the muck with the rest of us. So just something to think about. And that's today's quick episode of Petty Wars right there.
Come sit over here with us. There we go. Absolutely. Come back to the Lee Company Studios for hour number 2 of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It is Throwback Thursday. We will have a segment to revisit with you when we come back. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Welcome to the second hour of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm the voiceless Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And since I wasn't here for this segment that we're about to re-show you, Wade, tell them about it.
We've got Doug Feinberg, our good friend from the Associated Press. We caught up with him a couple times over the last month as women's basketball has continued to just explode in newsworthiness and popularity. And Doug was on breaking down the WNBA draft, which I thought was a fitting segment for today, Mo, considering you and I were just talking about the jerseys for Caitlin Clark have been flying off the shelves. Probably the hardest jersey to get right now.
Sold out, aren't they?
Sold out. They've got their preseason opener coming up next week. So we talked WNBA draft with Doug. We gave him his flowers for some of his predictions that he made during March Madness, a lot of which ended up proving true or almost true. So fun segment with Doug last week, and we thought it'd be a great throwback for today's show.
Absolutely. Let's throw it back.
The WNBA draft. This was an event that occurred right on the heels of a fantastic March Madness for the ladies. And we had such a great visit a couple of weeks ago with Doug FEINBERG, Chris. We wanted to bring him back on to break down last night's, I should say, WNBA draft results. Let's go to Doug now. And Doug, first of all, good to see you again. And we actually just ran your interview as part of our Throwback Thursday segment last week. So you've been getting some love and you've been getting some shine thanks to your prognostications in March Madness for the ladies.
Appreciate it, guys. I hope my prognostications were correct. I think I said something about a South Carolina-Iowa final. I think I might have said Iowa potentially could win to end the storybook. But, it was a great game. I mean, the fact that almost 19 million people watched it with a peak of 24 million, fantastic for the sport. And just an all-around great NCAA tournament, a way to cap it off.
It really was. And you kind of surmised it best. I mean, yes, it would have been cool and a storybook ending, as it were, if I were to win that game. But, I mean, really, at the end of the day, you just got to tip your cap to how dominant that South Carolina team was, not only during the March Madness run at times, even though they had a few shaky games here and there, but really all season long, obviously capping it with an undefeated year.
Yeah, I mean, let's give them their flowers. They are the 10th team ever to go undefeated in the NCAA era, and they were challenged a couple times and answered the bell every time. Just a great job by Dawn Staley coaching them and getting them to stay undefeated and do something that only 9 other teams had done before. And she's now in a rare company who's winning 3 national championships. Only 4 of their coaches have done that. So she has established herself as one of the best coaches in the history of the game.
Well, there's any question about that. She's certainly in there with Gino Auriemma, Pat Summitt, Tara Vandiver, who recently announced her retirement. I mean, when you talk about the greatest coaches in women's college basketball history, those are names that all pop up, and Dawn is right there with them. Doug, when women's basketball started, I guess I want to say, I feel like it was around January of last year, might have been early February, where Caitlin Clark kind of went viral on TikTok and some other social media things with the way that she handled the basketball, the way she shot the basketball, with some of her not taunting tactics, but celebrations post hitting 40-foot jump shot. Mm-hmm. And that has carried for more than 14, 15, 16 months now. And it just makes a lot of sense for the WNBA and their draft to be at the climax of all of this. This is kind of the beginning of something new, but also the pinnacle of the end of the college basketball season for women. How important is that for the W to be able to capitalize not just last year, but also this year?
You bring up a lot of really good points there. I think I see both sides of the fence in the sense that they just finished their season a week ago or 8 days ago from when the draft was. And then you're going right into the draft. Caitlin Clark went to LA for the Wooden Award. She was back home for a celebration in Iowa, came to New York. Obviously, did a great appearance on Saturday Night Live, which was hilarious, and then got drafted 2 days later. So they were able to capitalize on the momentum that women's basketball had over the last year and a half that really, I think, helped it. You also kind of go, okay, maybe if they had taken a month, and they can't because when the season starts, but the NBA draft isn't until June, right? The NFL draft isn't until the end of April, so they have 4 months to get ready for it, which they're more established sports, obviously, but I see where, hey, this is a lot going on for these young players' careers. I mean, most of them were in the NCAA tournament. They kept on going, made the finals or the Elite Eight or Final Four. So it's tough to sort of have that, turn that page to, okay, I'm no longer a college player, I'm a pro a week later. But I think it helps people. Everyone was talking about Caitlin Clark still. Everyone's talking about Camila Cardozo, Angel Reese. If you take some time, maybe those spotlights dim a little bit. right now for the WNBA. So the timing works out well. And you're right. I mean, 16 months ago, Caitlin Clark was not who she is now on the national scene, or maybe 18, 20 months ago. So it's really helped her grow. It's helped the league grow. And obviously fans know who she is. She's a household name.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question that just popped in my mind, Doug, is I'm not going to lie, I haven't followed the WNBA draft certainly as closely as maybe I did this year. And with the reduced timetable, how quickly are execs, coaches, GMs, all of the front office positions, how quickly are they making decisions? Is it a situation where a young lady makes a run during a tournament and can dramatically improve her stock, or are the decisions made kind of as the season is really unfolding? If you could maybe describe that process.
So that's a great question. I mean, the really good teams know you learn more watching a kid practice than you would in a game. You see what their habits are, and they're all going to practice over the course of the season, December, January, November. They'll go to games also. So it's not like, oh my God, I have 1 week to figure out if this kid's worth playing in my team or not. I think an NCAA tournament run can help a player in a mid-major school more than a major school. Rickea Jackson, Tennessee, was a great player. She had a good NCAA tournament for as long as the Vols were in it. I don't think that would have helped or hurt her. Even if they made the Final Four, I think everyone knew who she was. A mid-major player, or a player that may not have gotten as much attention. I mean, I'll use, as a Columbia guy, I'll use Abby Shue, who got drafted in the 3rd round by Connecticut last night. Columbia made the tournament for the first time. You don't know really who they playing against during the regular season. But, hey, played against the Vanderbilt team that's in the SEC. She played okay. Maybe that helps her draft stock a little bit. Say she can play against the better players, the bigger schools. Whereas, like I said, South Carolina and Iowa and Tennessee that plays really good competition all season long, they're already kind of evaluated and know where they fit in the draft scheme of things.
Makes sense. I just have mock draft fatigue from the NFL for those 4 months. So I was curious kind of how that process played out. We're talking with Doug Feinberg. He's the AP National Women's Basketball writer. And Doug, last night, obviously, no surprise, Caitlin Clark does go number 1 overall. Seeing social media posts, over the next 24 hours, her jerseys have already officially sold out of their allotment. So kind of really no surprise there. With that being said, were there any first-round surprises of major notes that jumped out to you yesterday, or last night, rather?
So, I mean, you guys have covered and seen a lot of drafts in every sport. I'm not sure I heard any team go last night from the first round, we didn't get who we wanted. Everyone seemed happy with how the draft worked out. I mean, listen, if India didn't take Caitlin Clark first, there'd probably be a federal investigation, because how could you avoid her from the talent standpoint, the marketing standpoint? I mean, everything. LA did a nice job getting Cameron Brink number 2 and Rickea number 4. They got solid players that are going to help be the foundation of that franchise for the next potentially decade. Chicago at number 3 got Camila Cardozo, a really good post player, and then traded up and got Angel Reese at the 7. So they made great moves there. J.C. Sheldon going 5 to Dallas. Everyone kind of got who they wanted, which I think is very rare. Usually like, oh, man, we wanted to get this player. We didn't get him. I think everyone did pretty well, at least in the first round, which is, unfortunately, most of the players after the first round have a much harder time making rosters. Only 144 players max in the WNBA. So I was surprised. If you go, what was the surprise of the draft? That everyone went away happy, it seemed.
Well, and that's one of the things that you just mentioned, 144 players in the league. And there's some rumbling that maybe that's not enough. And can this class of draftees actually improve the viewership and the monetary numbers for the league to a point where they can carry 14 or 15 players? I mean, is that something that we may see in the near future, or is that entirely predicated on the bottom line?
Well, that's, again, really good points there. The commissioner of the league, Kathy Engelbert, had a pre-press conference or pre-draft press conference. One point she said is they're trying to get to 16 teams by 2028. Golden State comes in next year with their franchise, and then she wants to add 3 more from the 12 they have now and 13 next year, which will create, obviously, a lot more jobs.
Including Nashville, we hope.
Yes, Nashville is one of the places she mentioned. The 6 cities that are their favorites. but you got to find the right ownership. You can't just have a city get a team if there's not the right owners who want to invest in the franchise.
Right.
But the other thing I thought is important is, yes, like in the NBA, there's, I think, 15 guys on a roster. You can sort of taxi guys up and down a little bit in case of injuries and such. The new TV deal, or this TV deal, ends after the 2025 season. So hopefully there'll be, I would think, a much bigger pot to speak of money from the new TV deal, which will help increase salaries. And also you might get some extra roster spots, which I think will help get more players in and just make it better for everybody.
Yeah, and that's part of, again, capitalizing on all of the things that they've capitalized on, and congratulations to the WNBA, because they've done a really good job of not screwing this up. And I think a lot of times professional leagues, especially who haven't had eyeballs on them, can try to do too much. And the WNBA and their leadership has done a fantastic job. But the scary part for a lot of fans has been the part where a lot of rookies, because they have to play 65 games in a 8-month period, they don't really make a lot of impact in year one, and they end up getting cut or something. I mean, 3 players from LSU's teams last year, their 3 leading scorers, were cut by the end of the season last year. How does the WNBA rectify that in the immediacy? Because you can't cut, anybody that was drafted in the top 15, I think. it's going to be really hard for them to make those moves.
Unfortunately, it's the nature of the business. It is the toughest league to make for any professional player, professional athlete, because there are so limited spots. And there's so many players return every year after year that are very good. I think some of the picks, there's some of the later first-round picks were foreign players, 2 from France and 1 from Australia, that I'm not sure if they're actually going to be playing this year because of the Olympics. So there's a chance that you don't have to, save them a roster spot, so to speak, right now. You can suspend them for the season. Suspend them, meaning that they just won't play. You don't have to worry about paying them. They don't take a roster spot. Listen, I think 15 players last year who were drafted made rosters out of 36, which is not obviously a great number. I don't think there's an immediate fix right now until the next CBA comes out. And again, I think the Players Union most likely will opt out after next season when they're allowed to for the first time to help sort of build things a little bit, the new TV deal and other such additions sponsorship-wise. But you're right, it is tough. I mean, Carmelo Cardozo played 38 games, or her team played 38 games in the regular season for South Carolina in the NCAA tournament. They played 40 games in the WNBA. So that's 78 games, not even including playoffs, that she may have to play in a limited window. Injuries can be obviously an issue there, and just the fatigue. I mean, you're going to hit a wall at some point, and the league needs – if Caitlin Clark somehow doesn't work out well in Indiana, that's not good for anybody from a league standpoint. I don't think it's happening. I think she's going to be a phenomenal player. One thing which we did mention before, not only does she shoot 40-foot shots, she's a phenomenal passer. She makes her teammates better. She throws dimes that you don't see other players make. And that's going to, I think, help carry her to the next level to be one of the best players coming into the league, if not one of the top 10 or 15 by the end of the season.
Talking with Doug Feinberg from the Associated Press. Doug, a couple of those teams in need of immediate help, Chris and I talked about it on the show yesterday, was the Sparks, and you mentioned they get 2 quality picks, and we've talked a little bit about rookies and the impact they can make. What's a realistic expectation for a team, whether it's Chicago or the Sparks, with 2 quality picks in the top 10? Is that enough to really kind of thrust them back kind of into the fold as far as really competing for the top spots in their respective conferences?
Well, I think they both made really good choices in the draft and who they got. Cameron Brink, Rickea Jackson going to be very helpful in LA. They're in rebuilding mode still. And again, part of being a rookie is where you get drafted and where you fit. If you get drafted by the Aces or the Liberty, there's 2 very well-established teams that don't need much. So odds are you're not going to be probably playing much this year, if at all. Whereas LA, Chicago, they're in rebuild mode where you're going to step right in. You're going to get minutes. You're going to do well. Hopefully, you're going to have your struggles at times. So I think for them to be up the upper echelons, if they make the playoffs as an 8 seed or 7 seed, I think that's a realistic expectation. I think Indiana has a chance to be one of the top 4 teams because they had a good group coming back with Aaliyah Boston, Rookie of the Year last year, Kelsey Mitchell. They added some other good pieces around Caitlin Clark. I think that can make a jump. I think it's a lot to expect LA or Chicago from what they did. And I thought they had a really good draft, both teams, make that jump to be one of the championship contenders or a top 4 team in the playoffs.
Kind of in that same vein, obviously, Indiana had a great selection last year with Aaliyah Boston, and then now you have Caitlin Clark added to the mix. Where do you see the Fever going potentially in terms of their campaign this year in the WNBA?
So I've heard from some pretty reliable GMs that I trust their knowledge of. They think Indiana can be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league this year. I don't think they're good enough to be in the same conversation as Vegas and New York right now. I think just they're young still, and those are 2 really good established teams. They could play with them and beat them in a game during the year. I'm not saying they're not going to beat them at all, but I would think Indiana could be one of the top probably 3 or 4 teams in the league, number 3 or 4 in that range, 5, based on what they have, assuming it all works out. I think they could have a really good season.
Obviously, so much buzz about Caitlin Clark, of course. Rookie of the Year, is that a slam dunk in your mind, or is there a lot more that maybe goes into that, and it's not just a shoe-in as a lot of folks might assume?
I mean, I love prognosticating with you guys. I would be
You've been on a heater with us, so.
If and this is not a huge stretch here, if she stays healthy throughout the season, I can't think she will not be Rookie of the Year. Based on talent. I mean, listen, you could say there'll be other factors, what she does, just what she's going to bring on the court, she will be Rookie of the Year.
Seems like a fair prediction there.
There you go. Health is important, but if she stays healthy, I think he's probably right there. There are some great talents, but just the ability that she's going to have to, she has a little bit of, she and Aaliyah Boston played together on Team USA, right? So, I mean, they have some familiarity, and that's going to help too. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to this WNBA season. Spent a lot of time watching it with my daughter last year, and she's become a pretty big fan. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do that. And Doug, we look forward to talking to you again next time, man.
Pleasure, guys. She wins Rookie of the Year. The sun rises every morning. So that's basically, I think, the on level of how secure I am that she'll be Rookie of the Year, barring an injury.
We'll go ahead and mark that down then. Doug, thank you as always for your time, brother. Good to catch up with you. We'll see you real soon.
Always great, guys. Talk to you soon.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Muted, Mo. Now we're back.
Welcome back to Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I probably sounded better muted, actually, but I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Great segment from last week with Doug Feinberg of the AP. Some really good stuff, and looking forward to continuing to get him on somewhat of a regular basis as we continue to talk women's basketball, both at the collegiate and pro level. Right now, we are joined from Nissan Stadium by Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Executive Director Brad Willis, who is still keeping his hand in with some Titans radio coverage as they prepare for their NFL draft coverage tonight. Brad, good afternoon.
Hey, Mo. Hey, Wade. How's it going?
Well, you can pretty well tell. Not great.
Yeah, I've struggled through some hoarse voice before, and you certainly are making the best of it.
I'm trying, man. I'm really trying, but I don't think it's great radio, but I'm doing what I can. Hey, what exactly are you doing with the Titans radio tonight?
So tonight at 6 on the Titans Radio Network and the flagship here in Nashville, we start wall-to-wall coverage of the first round of the NFL Draft, and with a special emphasis on the Titans picks. Obviously, number 7 with the Titans number 1 overall, number 1 pick in the first round for them. So we'll go on the air at 6 and kind of set up tonight and take the pick live and break down what that means for the Titans moving forward.
Do you all get any kind of advance notice if, say, they're trading back or anything like that, or do you find out with everybody else?
It's happened both ways. And I say advance notice, I'm talking maybe 20, 30 seconds. I think a lot of what happens on television, at the draft, a lot of that is being done, behind the scenes. They've got to stitch a name on a jersey and they've got to do all those kinds of things. So sometimes those things happen. We found out about the A.J. Brown trade seconds before it was announced. And so, that you remember that being on, draft night. And so we'll occasionally kind of get the scent of where things might be going. But most times we find out when everybody else does, when the commissioner comes out and makes the announcement. And, that's always one of the more fun events. We generally broadcast here at Nissan Stadium or at some Titans season ticket holder event. And, to see the reaction of the fans, for what the pick is, it's always fun to see.
Live radio at its finest, huh?
That's right.
Mo and Brad, that reminds me, the year was 2007, and I was a young intern for you guys at Titans Radio, and we were huddled in the studios as the Titans. Kind of surprised some folks when they took Michael Griffin at the 19th pick. So
that's right.
Here we are all those years later, and I'll be over at Nissan tonight. I'll run into you and say hello. And we're still doing the same thing. Time is a flat circle. A lot of people would say.
That's exactly right. You know, it's just walking in the building tonight. This afternoon, I had somebody ask, like, "What do you think is going to happen?" I was like, "Gosh, you know, there's only 6 picks in front of them, but so much could change depending on who comes off the board at 1 through 6." So it's really it's a new regime. It's a new thought process. It's a new direction, and so we're going to all figure that out in real time. I think the fan base is pretty excited about it. I think that they like what they've seen out of Brian Callahan. I think they like that Bill Callahan is here coaching offensive line, and I think that it's one of those things that really opens up a lot of possibilities, and it'll be fun to see how it all plays out.
Brad, as we've talked to people here over the last week, 2 weeks, it feels like the Titans are the most intriguing team in the draft. And that's not necessarily a compliment because, they've got, for lack of a better phrase, they've got so many holes to fill. There are so many different directions they can go in. And, they may or may not actually execute the pick at 7. I mean, would you agree with that as you
100%.
look across?
Well, and that's where we're going to learn a little bit about, this regime and kind of their approach. Do you pick for need or do you pick the best available player, knowing that you hope you're not at number 7, or better next year, and who's there. So, a lot of people are projecting offensive line because there's serious concern that the offensive line depth is not where they need it to be. But then what if a playmaker falls to you at number 7 that you can't overlook? And so I think we'll learn a little bit tonight about their approach moving forward. And that's, to your point, it's not a compliment because there are a lot of holes, but it really kind of changes things for the fan base because you don't really have a 100% lock on where this team's going tonight.
We didn't bring you in to talk Titans draft. There was an announcement regarding the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame last week that I don't think we've been able to visit with you about. Tell us where y'all are going to be here in about 3 years.
Well, it's really exciting. So we are in the process. We just announced it last week. We are moving the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Museum to the new Nissan Stadium. So when it opens here in 2027, in the spring of 2027, we're going to be right there with it. And we're really excited, really thankful to the partnership with the Titans. They're stoked about this. We've seen some blueprints and some things, obviously that's a work in progress with a lot of different things. And so that's, kind of an ever evolving thing. We're super, super appreciative to the Nashville Predators. We've been in our space there for nearly 25 years. And it's one of those things that we kind of said to the Preds, hey, at some point, the kind of the evolution of our organization and the evolution of your organization, it might not necessarily, agree in this space anymore. And so we're just really excited that we're going to get the chance to be at what I feel like is going to be a really destination location in Nashville for many, many years to come. I think the venue will ultimately be one that people will stop and want to see. The plan right now is that the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is accessible from the outside world. So just like we are now, where we have, field trips and tour groups and visitors just coming throughout the day, they'll still be able to access us, throughout the week and learn a little bit about the state of Tennessee. And we're going to take a space that at this point is 25 years old, and we're going to now reimagine it. We're going to reimagine it for a space that opens in 2027 that, we think will be here for many, many decades. And so we want that new space to kind of tell some of the stories that have happened over the last couple of decades and really set us up to be able to tell the stories of things that haven't even happened yet. So it's an exciting time for our organization. It's one that, it's one thing about that announcement is that the current space is going to close after May 15th of this year. Part of that is we were coming up on the expiration of a lease. The other part of that is that we're going to need some time and organization to be able to build out some of this new space. And so when you think about what that process looks like, there's bulldozers going across the way digging out holes for the space now. And, once things start going up, we're going to be in there with that construction process too. And so, we're looking forward to that, and really hope that people who appreciate our space, who appreciate sports in the state of Tennessee, or maybe who have never been able to visit us before, will do that, over the next, 3 or 4 weeks, and come pay us a visit and see us before we close up shop. And then down the line, we'll have some exciting announcements. I don't think we'll be completely dark from an outreach perspective. We're going to be able to kind of take our show on the road a little bit, and we'll have some of those things to announce later. But it's an exciting time, and I think that the new Nissan Stadium and Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame will be an absolute fit for both parties.
It's one of those situations, Brad, I guess, where you kind of got to take a couple of steps back to take a bunch of steps forward. I mean, you guys are going to be dark for almost 3 years, basically.
It'll be somewhere around that. And then and there are opportunities that we may not be completely dark. But knowing that we're moving and knowing that we're, coming up on the expiration of a lease, it's one of those things that just kind of times out the way that it does. And it really gives us a chance to kind of step back and evaluate how we handle our outreach. And so there may be things that come up. There may be a temporary location that comes together over the next little bit. There are some things that are kind of in the works in the background that we think, may come together, but we aren't really kind of ready to roll those out yet. But the one thing that we know for certain is that 2027 we'll be right there at the new Nissan Stadium, and it should be just a top of the line space for people to come check out and learn about sports in the state of Tennessee.
Brad, you guys already had a fantastic facility, but it seems like this is a perfect, obviously, fit and opportunity. But it also seems like, is this a chance, hey, while the checkbook is out, this is a chance to really just blow this thing out of the water in conjunction with the new Nissan Stadium from a amenity standpoint? Is any idea too big for you guys right now?
Well, that's part, to go back to Mo's point, part of the next 3 years is kind of on me, because we are a nonprofit organization. We're in the process of raising capital to, kind of like flesh out what this looks like. We've talked to several companies who are, well-versed in putting together venues like this. And it's amazing, the stories that they can tell and the way that these things are constructed now. And so, you can look at some of these things and they are the absolute top of the line technology. And then you have some things, it's really an interesting thing, because we've talked about where do you strike the balance between a physical artifact that you can go in and see, something tangible, versus, interactive or experiential type things. And so we're trying to find, the right fit for that, while we're telling the story of, over 500 inductees over the last, 59 years, which is an incredible group. And we're really lucky that they all come from the state of Tennessee, and we're able to tell their story.
Brad Willis, Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Brad, how many state sports halls of fame are there, and do you administrators, talk, compare notes, that kind of thing? Do you try to kind of steal from other folks?
We do. Yeah. A lot of the best ideas are stolen. I've had the chance to meet in person with the executive director of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. I've talked at length with Mississippi and Georgia's Sports Halls of Fame. Kentucky's is different. Kentucky has an exhibit. They used to have an exhibit at Freedom Hall. I believe they have an exhibit at the Yum Center now, but they don't have a physical Hall of Fame. Florida no longer has a physical Hall of Fame. And it's, it's interesting, because some of them are operated as state entities, and some of them are like us, and they're 501c3s. And so, there's a little bit to learn from everybody, and we've compared notes. And there's a great organization that we're a part of called the International Sports Heritage Association, and not just state halls of fame, but many different kinds of sports hall of fame, motorsports hall of fame, all those kinds of things. So it's good to be able to kind of share ideas. We get together once a year for a conference and kind of talk through best practices and things that work. We've got an email thread going right now about banquets and how long they should run and how those all work for everybody. And so it's always interesting to see how other people do it. I give big kudos to the TSSAA and how they handle their Hall of Fame event. First year I attended that was right before our banquet 2 years ago. And I told Heather Carter from TSSAA, I said, I'm borrowing some things because it works, And so it's, it's some of the best ideas are stolen, but it's certainly a tip of the hat to the ones who do it right. And we try to do the same. So both from a museum perspective, banquet perspective, anything else, we're really excited about our television show that we started doing in 2020. And when we talk to people about different ways that you can kind of get the message out, across your state, that's one way that we've suggested to do it, because we've got great partners from Memphis all the way to Johnson City. And, about a week before the banquet, we have a television special that goes on and really talks about, the class that's going in. So we're getting ready to do that again this year. And again, feel like any exposure is good exposure, so long as it's really telling people about the great inductees and what they've meant to our state.
This year's banquet is set for July 20th at Omni Nashville downtown. And have you completed the rollout of the class?
We haven't. We have one more. We have one more to go. Yes. And if I tell you why we haven't announced that inductee, you may come close to figuring out who it is. So I'm not going to delve too deep into that. But it's a biggie, and it's one that we're excited about. And this whole class is one that we're excited about. Chris Burke, we just announced him a couple weeks ago on SEC Network as he and Dave Neal were calling the Tennessee LSU baseball game. Chris Johnson, Tennessee Titans 2K, CJ 2K, really excited he's part of the class. Scott Hamilton, Scott, it's funny because Scott and his family have lived, in the Nashville area for close to 20 years, and really kind of what he means to just giving back to the community of skating. It means so much. And this is the 40th anniversary of his gold medal in Sarajevo. And it's just, it's incredible that is all kind of lined up. But we've got some great, Fred Warren, longtime golf coach at East Tennessee State. Paul Anacone played tennis at the University of Tennessee. Faye Bucci was a longtime pro at Belmead Country Club, 41 years, and was a champion tennis player in his own right. Babe Howard, the late Babe Howard, Mr. Millington, Tennessee, if you will. He built USA Stadium out there in Millington as a way to give high school kids a chance to make it into college, make it onto a team. I've left somebody out. I'm trying to remember who. Dave Luce. How could I forget Coach Luce? I mean, Coach Luce and what he meant to the Govs at Austin Peay. It's just like I said, it's a solid class from top to bottom, and we're really excited. And when we finally announce inductee number 12, you'll say, "Oh wow, okay, that's good. That's icing on the cake." And so we're really excited about that one.
You almost got them all.
I left out Charlie Bayless from Happy Valley.
Yep, and Tiger Bell, Gene Patton Latimer.
Let me tell you, Gene Patton Latimer is one that I'm really thrilled is part of this. The late Arnett Bodenhammer really pushed for her candidacy. And it's funny because she's one that I think a lot of people, based on her accomplishments and her history, just assumed that she was already in. And so when Mr. Bodenhammer kind of brought it to our attention, I flagged that. I was like, yeah, the committee needs to know about this. And so I'm really, really excited that she's in this year.
And then Memphis racquetball player Larry Lyles.
Larry Lyles is I didn't realize until doing some digging that the national championship racquetball trophy is the Larry Lyles trophy. He means that much to the sport. And he coached generations of players at Memphis. I've been talking to a great number of them that plan to come out and support him. Again, as you mentioned, July 20th at the Omni, downtown Nashville. It's our 2024 induction class, and really hope people will come join us, be a part of it. Last year was a great event, really kind of a who's who of sports in the state of Tennessee. And tickets and tables are for sale online. All you have to do is go to our website, which is tshf.net.
You know, Wade has pointed out in our private chat, if I got 30 seconds with Chris Burke, I would have to tell him how he broke my heart in that Astros Braves playoff game.
Yeah, that's right. The walk-off.
Yes, that one hurt. That one hurt.
That one hurt a lot of Braves fans.
I mean, it almost erased everything that he had done at UT prior to that, as far as I was concerned. But
I can understand.
You know, fantastic class as always. You guys do a fantastic job with the gotcha moments for those guys, and I can hardly wait to see this one that you're going to round it out with. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Wade, you got anything more from Mr. Marshall County?
Well, I was just getting ready to say Brad was a upstanding gentleman. He kept the Marshall County and Cornersville praise to a minimum. The Giles County and Richland guy and me certainly appreciates that. So thank you for your professionalism this afternoon.
One thing I do want to mention, though, as we are talking about Marshall County, and Brad, this you'll appreciate this. I got back into town earlier this week and realized we lost a legend here not too long ago. Marshall County baseball coach and longtime defensive coordinator for the Tigers, Joe George, passed away not too long ago. And, oh, man.
He was one of a kind.
He was absolutely one of a kind. The Tigers.
Yeah, I made it to the visitation on Friday night. I had to go to Knoxville for the Chris Burke announcement on Saturday, so I made sure to go to the visitation on Friday night. I got there with about an hour to go, and still waited in line for an hour and a half to talk to his family. Just the outpouring of support from that community. I mean, it just shows how much he meant, not just from a coaching perspective, but involved in his community, involved in his church. He was still teaching the teenagers at Sunday school every Sunday morning. His sons, Daniel and Jeremy, about my age, his daughter, Kristen, his wife, Jane, just an absolute pearl of a man, just unbelievable. And I told his sons, I said, one thing that you'll never forget is just what a good man your dad was. And, really sad that he's gone. He touched a lot of individuals, both through sports and just by the kind of person that he was. But you're right, Coach George will be missed for sure.
Absolutely. Brad, we appreciate it. Have fun in the next 3 days, and we'll catch up with you hope to catch up with you between now and the 15th. Maybe we can come down and do a show before y'all close it down. So
that sounds good. Let's do it.
We'll see if we can't figure that out. But we appreciate you. Brad Willis, Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. When we come back, it's the final segment. Thank goodness. And it's the grab bag. Stay with us from the Lee Company Studios when we come back.
I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros.
Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that EY's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No.
No. Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football, there's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm the struggling Maurice Patton, that's Wade Neely, and it's time for the grab bag. And it wouldn't be a grab bag without some transfer portal news. You've heard this name on this show in the past. Jaden Rashada coming soon to a school near you. The one-time Miami commit, one-time Florida signee, former Arizona State quarterback, has now headed to Georgia. Just further plaguing. Who is the coach at Georgia? At Florida, I just lost his name. Billy
Napier.
Yes, further plaguing Billy Napier. It looks like he's going to go and obviously sit behind the Lambeau driving Carson Beck, but still, I guess he'll have 3 years left because I think he's eligible for a redshirt year after playing in just 3 games last year out at Arizona State. So Jaden Rashada, a Bulldog.
That is a wild trajectory and lineage thus far that you've just laid out. And I guess, maybe he's been watching the draft speculation and coverage, and Jaden Daniels, we talked about him being a former Sun Devil himself and then going on to success in the SEC. Maybe Rashada says, that's seems like a decent little career path for me. This has been interesting, right? Because this is a California native that was in Florida a couple different times, at least on paper, and then ends up playing out west, and now he's going back to the South. And obviously was a highly touted recruit, and it'll be very interesting to see kind of how he pans out. You're right, though. Obviously, you got to sit behind Beck unless something just crazy happens.
Again, Beck bought a Lambo earlier this offseason. I don't think he's sitting behind anybody. But my thing is, if you are, say, Gunnar Stockton, what's the move now for you? We've said it's a quarterback-driven sport, obviously, and if Beck and Rashada are 1-2, Stockton's a redshirt sophomore. You got to figure he wants to get on the field somehow, somewhere. So, how much longer is he around in Athens?
Yeah, this is not the draft, but it's kind of like the draft. It's kind of like free agency in the sense that it's opening this Pandora's box of our coaching carousel, like we've talked about. Where does Stockton end up now? And I wasn't even necessarily thinking of supplanting Beck so much as talk about two great. If all that holds true, talk about two great backups in terms of an insurance policy with an injury potential there.
Sure.
You could certainly do a lot worse. So Georgia, kind of not just restocking the quarterback room, but really just reloading the quarterback room with that commitment there. That was one that caught my eye for sure.
An embarrassment of riches, I guess.
Yes.
You would say.
Now that is the best way to say it. And I don't know that he's going to be getting a Lambo just yet, but I bet he'll end up with something pretty nice by the time his career is all said and done.
He may not have a Lambo, but I don't think he'll have a Yugo either. So we'll see how that goes. Shifting gears to basketball, former Ohio State big man Felix Okpara is now a Vol. Averaged a little over 6 points and a little over 6 rebounds this past season, the latter of which led Ohio State. 6.6 points, 6.4 rebounds, 6.4 rebounds led the Buckeyes this past year. 10 or more offensive rebounds on 23 occasions this past year. Obviously, those are numbers, and that's production that Tennessee can lose. It can use with both Tobey. What's the last name? Yes, thank you. Goodness. And Adu, apparently gone. So it's a big get for UT, you would think.
Yeah, and this kind of Vol Twitter is going to Vol Twitter, obviously. And just a couple of weeks ago, fresh off a great run in the tournament, they lose a couple guys, and the Vols fans with a less than rosier disposition are saying, this is Rick Barnes. This is what he does. We're losing some guys, and a couple of writers, and some other folks, friends of ours, were saying, hey, just calm down. He knows what he's doing. I mean, this is also, again, kind of the world we live in. You're gonna lose a couple guys that really, you're thinking, man, how did we lose that guy?
Right.
But it's a two-way street, obviously, and there's going to be some guys that end up back with you. So the main takeaway for me is ain't nothing settled until you get those kids on campus and the season really starts at this point.
Exactly. Oak Parra played at Hamilton Heights down in Chattanooga for a time before finishing up his prep career at Link Academy out in Missouri. So got a little familiarity with East Tennessee, and apparently that was big for him. He becomes the second guy out of the portal to commit to/sign with UT, following Hofstra guard Darlingstone Dubar, who
and a minuscule version of Petty Wars. I just got to point out, Michigan got a commit from an Ohio State guy as well as guard Roddy Gale Jr. Crossing enemy lines. We see that with Alabama and Auburn sometimes, not as much Michigan, Ohio State. And so they picked him up. So a little keep your enemies closer type situation.
There we go. And another guy, former Ensworth standout Chaz Lanier, has announced that he's going into the portal from North Florida. Averaged 20 points, shot 44% from three this past season. Previously declared for the NBA draft. Not sure which is more likely, that he gets drafted or that he winds up playing his final season of collegiate eligibility. But again, played his high school ball at Ensworth. He goes into the portal with a no contact tag, for what that's worth. So
don't hit me up, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, don't call us. We'll call you. One final transfer note. CBSSports.com named Dalton Connect their transfer of the year.
I got to agree with them. I don't, yeah, what more could you say? That seems like the no-brainer of no-brainers, as it still just blows my mind just how impressive he was and how much of a difference maker he was.
Considering where he was coming from in particular.
Exactly. I mean, he's not Jokic, but it reminds me of Jokic, the fact that he goes in the second round and now he's, essentially a two-time MVP, maybe going a three-time MVP. The fact that Connect comes from Northern Colorado and is right there on the cusp of being your National Player of the Year, which is just crazy.
If not for Edie, he probably is. And I think that there are some that would tell you probably should have been anyway. Preds headed back to town, even at one apiece with Vancouver. Game 3 tomorrow night, and they have made a transition as center. Juuso Parssinen is coming up from Milwaukee. Now, I'm not as up on hockey transactions as I am on baseball necessarily, so I don't know if someone has to be deactivated for him to be active or how that works. Wade, if you can help, please do.
It's funny, and I'll keep the identities a secret, because I texted a friend of mine who's in the know on all this stuff, and in the 2 hours we've been on this show, he must be out mowing grass or doing something, because I've not heard back from my source, as it were. But it does seem like a depth move. This is not, hey, we've been stashing this secret weapon the whole time. But yeah, I presume that someone is going to have to go down. And if it's just kind of a filling out of the roster type situation, not bashing anybody, it seems like, kind of just swapping some interchangeable parts, I think. And if nothing else, maybe just getting a guy with some fresher legs potentially than a guy that you may have right now.
Haven't heard anything about any injuries or anything like that, have we?
Not that I'm aware of. The only injury in that series that I've been hearing is the famous week to week, which we talked about with Teresa yesterday, by the way. Demko out week to week. We talked about in the NHL playoffs, you have to basically be maimed or amputated for you to miss in real time. So the fact that he is week to week seems like it's a big deal. It'll be very interesting. That place is going to be rocking tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Tomorrow we've got Jeff Ham of the Nashville Sounds. We've got Terry McCormick, Titan Insider. Join us at 2 o'clock right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll see you then.